Welcome to the Red and Bold Show. We are excited to talk 49ers football. We're excited to talk to you, and we're excited to look forward and see what the 49ers might do this week, especially coming off of a big win in Seattle over the hated Seahawks. My name is Marc Adams. I'm one of your hosts. I'm joined by Anthony Robertson, my co-host. You can find us at 49ers Camelot or at 49ers Cutback, and we are ready to do this. Ant, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's been a fun week because there's the extra time after the 49ers get a big win. You kind of get to really revel in the win, and then you get to kind of get into it. And so I've still been doing my film breakdowns, and it's been a lot of fun this week to see the 49ers playing more consistent football, seeing them execute at a little bit of a higher level against a pretty good offense, especially when it came to Seattle, and a good defensive line. And I think that they need to carry that over into Kansas City, but it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be for the faint of heart. It's two really good football teams going to battle it out. But I'm excited about where the 49ers are headed. And if they can pull off a big win against Kansas City, boy, would that change the fortunes of what everyone believes this season could be and kind of get the 49ers right back to where they were. And we talked last week, what do they do to right the ship? Well, this would be a big way to do it. Come off a Seahawks win with another Chiefs win, that would right the ship.
Yeah, and then if they can beat the Cowboys the week after that, then you go into the bye and you're in good shape. And so we'll have to see how this Sunday goes before we start talking Cowboys. If I had to, which by the way, I've got to gloat a little bit here. I have to do picks for 49ers Web Zone. Last week, I went perfect. I picked every single game and won. I was right every single game. So that rarely happens. And so I have to celebrate when I do something like that. I would predict I'm going to say 1-1 over the next two games, but I'd love to see a 2-0.
Yeah, this game is the pivotal one. If the 49ers beat Kansas City, I fully believe that they go 2-0 over the next two games. I think they can beat the Cowboys. Cowboys are leaking oil right now. Their defensive line is definitely not as impactful. Problems with the secondary. Brandon Cooks is dealing with a knee problem. It's bad in Dallas. So Dallas, I know we're going to talk about them another time, but just a little foreshadowing. That's why this game is so pivotal. You beat Kansas City, and all of a sudden you can go on a little bit of a 3-game winning streak heading into the bye. And boy, would that be great, because we've seen the 49ers over the last couple of years. When they come out of the bye, they are gangbusters, and they play really well once they're rested and ready to go. And that's what I'm hoping we're going to see from the 49ers moving forward.
Well, our good friend Jim Everett the Great is in the chat, and he says, what's missing in Santa Clara is a game-changer quarterback. Purdy is regressed, D- QB in a A+ Shanahan system. Somebody hasn't been watching. Jim Everett the Great, you're not paying attention, because Brock Purdy has definitely not regressed. He has taken it to another level. And I'm pretty pleased. Is he perfect? Of course not. But let's start there. How was Brock Purdy in this game? Like, I've heard some say that he was like, nothing great. I kind of disagree with that. I think that he was really good.
I think Brock Purdy played a clean football game. And that's what all you can ask for, is somebody that's going to come up and do the things you need to do. And a lot of it is pre-snap. And Brock Purdy was getting the 49ers into good pre-snap looks. They were coming to the line and they were counting numbers when it came to the run game. A lot of times you're going to see 8-man boxes. It doesn't mean you can't run the football, but you want to run the football to the side where there's not as many players. And he was coming up and doing a good job of getting in the 49ers in the right run play. And so I love that. He was also diagnosing coverages and being able to go through progressions. I mean, you just look at the first touchdown to George Kittle that he throws to the pylon. That's read 3. He goes through his reads. Debo's covered. Juwan Jennings is covered. They did a good job of doubling Debo, take away Juwan. He's got to go to read 3. He doesn't hesitate. He gets the ball out on time, and he throws an absolute laser beam. It was a great play, and that's the kind of thing you see from Brock Purdy consistently. Now, are there throws that he should have made that he missed? Yes. Is there a couple of errant throws in this football game? Yes, that's called playing NFL quarterback against really good football players. You're going to make mistakes. You can't play perfect. And so I thought he did a really good job in this game. It was a return to form. I thought he looked good. Now there's a couple of throws here and there he wants back. And he could have had Kyle Juszczyk on a huge screen play that would have been big for the 49ers. He threw that one errant. He missed Ayuk a little bit to the sideline because he changed his arm angle and let the ball sail. But Brock Purdy's doing the things you need to do cerebrally. And I thought he was way better in the red zone this week. So I'm giving props to Brock Purdy for what he did.
Yeah, and I think that the key was that you said return to form. And that's one of the things that we had talked about is he trying to do too much because of some of the injuries. And this time, this game, it was like Kyle Shanahan went back to some of that play action pass and some of the stuff that made Brock Purdy so effective. I think that he can do the drop back and throw all day game, but that's not the 49ers strength. And so going back to some of what they've done that's made him so good, I think was a really important key to this game and to this win. Stop me if you've heard this before, but the 49ers built a big lead only to have the special teams unit let another team back into the game. When the Seahawks returned a kickoff for a touchdown, did you have one of those, oh, here we go again, thoughts in your head? Or were you like, nah, we've got this?
It was a overall frustration with the special teams because I think it was clear in this moment that Matthew Wright just can't kick the ball deep enough into the end zone to where there's not going to be returns.
Yeah.
And I think the reason it's the most frustrating is because Jalen Mahoney is right where he should be. He just doesn't play it right. And Jalen Graham also misses a tackle throwing his shoulder. Those types of things are frustrating because if the 49ers don't allow that touchdown, do the Seahawks ever get anything going? The 49ers defense was playing really well. They had held the Seahawks to a field goal at the end of the half. They were just playing really good, and the special teams reared its ugly head again. And it's frustrating because every time we feel like we get a good play from the special teams, there's another play that counteracts that. And you had the fumble earlier that they forced against Laviska Shenault, and then but they couldn't help themselves. They got to give up a touchdown to Laviska Shenault as well. So you're right. It does give you those feelings. It's irritating. And I guarantee you the defense felt it. The offense felt it. And it was kind of a stunned environment because that's tough when you're in a tough spot like that and you're doing everything right. You're dominating your opponent. And then you let them back in the game because of a situation like that. They've got to figure out the kicker situation. I know they brought in Andres Carlson. Matthew Wright is still not practicing. My guess is Carlson's probably going to handle it. The only thing is, Carlson is not exactly the best kicker for touchbacks either. He was one of the lower ranked guys last season. So they've got to figure this thing out. They can't allow special teams to be a reason why teams stay in football games.
Yeah, I would agree with you. The special teams, I am just over that. I wish that they would get that corrected. Now, the thing that I was happy about was the rookie class. They really showed up. Dominic Pooney, of course, has continued to do his thing. Renardo Green had perhaps the biggest play of the game when Seattle was moving the ball down the field and looking like they had a chance to get back in this thing. Green cut in front of DK Metcalf with a big interception, huge play. He was playing in place of Charvarius Ward, by the way. Malik Mustafa had an interception at the beginning of the game. Tatum Bethune recovered a fumble. Isaac Garindo had the big run where, you know, the question is, did he go down or did he get tackled? I don't really know. How impressed were you with this group? And is this the best rookie class that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have had so far? And I didn't even talk about Jacob Cowing, who fielded a couple of punts, and Ricky Pearsall, who might be coming back soon. Where are you at on this rookie class?
Yeah, I think they're trending towards being probably the best class that they've had. And that's saying a lot. And we don't know if we're going to get any Pro Bowlers or all pro players out of this class yet. It's too early to tell. But you look at Dominic Pooney, I think, first off, and you're getting so much value for a guard that you got in the third round. And the dude has just been so good this season. Consistency on the right side. And you've seen the improvement not just from pass protection, but also when it comes to the play of Colton McKivitz and those guys being able to play together. So I think that Dominic Pooney is right now the centerpiece. We don't really know what's going to happen with Pearsall. We got to kind of leave him out of this right now. But then you get Renardo Green and Malik Mustafa that are making big-time plays when they're asked to step into the starting lineup. That's exactly what you have to have from your young players. And I thought Renardo Green did a very good job in this game. I thought he continued to battle. He showed a lot of improvement. He's showing the ability to be able to go out there and cover some pretty good players. That first interception by Mustafa, he's also right there on Tyler Lockett and makes the ball sail. They're trying to make a fine throw. It can't happen. So Renardo Green played a really good game. And so I'm excited about the rookie class. Garendo finishes it off with a great explosive run. And you know what? I was kind of with you. I don't know if it was a slide down or if he was getting caught, but I watched the All-22 today, and slowing it down, I really believe he let off the gas over the last 5 yards and allowed himself to kind of have that contact. So maybe he could have finished that thing off. I don't know. I'm curious to see what happens when it's not a late part of the game and he can finish it off with a big run. I'm excited to see that this rookie class overall. And you brought up Tatum Bethune. How about him making a special teams play and getting on the football? All hands on deck, all hands making plays. That's exactly what you need from a rookie class. And I think that the 49ers are hopeful and optimistic that this crew is going to be able to help them now and help them in the future as they bridge the gap between different groupings of players. This team's a lot different than 2019. And of course, 3 or 4 years from now, it's going to be a lot different than it is right now too.
Yeah. Speaking of 2019, the strength of the team that year was the defensive line. It stayed that way for the next few years. But right now, the defensive line is not the strength of the team. They have been, in my opinion, since Javon Hargrave went down and they brought back Kalia Davis and they brought up Evan Anderson, it seems like they've been playing better. What have you seen from the defensive line, whether it's against Seattle or in recent games? To me, it seemed like they were playing pretty well against the Seahawks. But what did you see?
Yeah, I thought the defensive line has done a very good job. And Evan Anderson has made an impact in his limited snaps that he's been able to get. But what you're seeing is Malik Collins continue to play consistent play on the inside. He has been such a good player the entire season, whether that's pass rush or stopping the run. He's done a very good job. Now, I got to give a lot of credit to Nick Sorensen for what he's doing as far as helping that defensive line with run stopping as well, because Seattle wanted to run duo blocks, get those guys moving vertically, and then be able to create extra lanes. The very first play of the game, they get Kevin Givens moving back 4 yards, and the play is blown up because he blitzed Devondre Campbell to where the run was supposed to go, and then Malik Collins is able to shed a guy that one-on-one block because that guy came off to get after Fred, and then you get a stop for 1 yard. But it starts with the run blitz, taking away where they wanted to go. The run blitzes have helped out. Extra bodies make it a little bit more difficult for teams to be able to double team at the point of attack. I think that's worked out for the 49ers, but the defensive line is definitely getting better. Nick Bosa continues to bring pressure off the outside. Leonard Floyd again with 6 pressures in this game. I'm pretty excited about the defensive line play, and I'm hoping they're going to get Jordan Elliott back because he was playing really well before he went down with injury. I think that'll really help the 49ers rotation because I think he'll slide right back into the starting lineup with Malik Collins.
Yeah, I like what I see from them, and to me, it starts with with stopping the run. Once they've improved at that, it kind of frees everything else up, and so I like what I am seeing. Whether or not they can continue that, we'll see. But they played a good offense. They played a good running offense, and they performed really well against that Seattle offense. So I think that that's a positive thing going forward, especially coming off of a second half in Arizona that was definitely not a good showing.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to this team, they just got to consistently just play better. And that's been the key, is consistency. How are you going to play consistently better, play in and play out? We've seen flashes. We just haven't seen consistency. And I think that's what we're starting to see is more consistency. And that's where I'm hoping they're going to keep trending.
I noticed that Kenny 49ers in the chat asked, is Mason out? I have not heard that. He was in a blue non-contact jersey on, what was it, Monday. Today he's limited in practice, but that doesn't mean that he's out. So I think there's a chance that he's going to play. In fact, I would say all signs seem to be pointing toward him playing. Now, how long is he going to be able to play? Just depends on that shoulder. But that means that Isaac Guerendo and Keyshawn Vaughn that Kidlow mentioned here, if he gets called up from the practice squad, and then who was the kid
Patrick
that they
Taylor.
played? Yeah, Patrick Taylor Jr. And he looked pretty good to me. I liked what I saw from him. But those guys, if Jordan Mason doesn't play, those three have to step up for sure.
Yeah, it's a tough situation if you don't have Jordan Mason. You could see in this game, once Jordan Mason wasn't able to play in the second half, you got that first carry. And then after that, the Seahawks were like, okay, we're just going to run two high safeties the entire second half. And they put the onus on the 49ers to trust the young players to be able to run the football. And for the most part, they did okay. But you could tell the difference between Isaac Guerendo and Patrick Taylor and Jordan Mason. There's a big difference. I think at some point, right, Isaac Guerendo is going to get to where he's a very consistent runner, but it's not yet. And I also thought, watching the film back, that it was actually a huge loss when Aaron Banks was out. Banks was playing, even though it was really tough against Leonard Williams, he was playing better against Leonard Williams than Spencer Burford did. Burford struggled with Leonard Williams' strength and his ability to get his arms extended. That was a big part of the game, and the run game not being as successful in the second half was Banks being out. So athletically, Burford's superior to Banks, but when it comes to strength, it's definitely Banks over Burford. That was on display as well. I would worry about this 49ers run game going against Kansas City if Jordan Mason's not playing. That makes me really nervous about the consistency, and you got to be able to run the ball well against Kansas City if you're going to have a chance to win.
Yeah, and we'll get to them in just a second, to that game. But I wanted to ask you this. The 49ers opened the practice window for Ricky Pearsall on Monday. I think the way that works is they have 3 weeks and with that practice window, and at the end of that 3 weeks, they either keep him on the active roster or they shut him down for the season. So what is your best guess on him? Will he play at some point? Will they shut him down for the season? If he plays, how soon do you think he will play? How long do you think it's going to take for him to get to the point? Remember, he's a rookie who not only hasn't played, but really hasn't practiced much at all since spring. And so to me, it's going to take a while for him to really get acclimated. But what do you think about Ricky Pearsall?
Well, I think the fact that they opened his window now means they fully expect for him to play this season. If they weren't going to, they would have done what they did a couple of years ago with Kalia Davis. They would have opened it at the end of the season and allowed that practice time to happen and then expire. And then you're just giving him a look. They're expecting him to be able to help this football team in some manner. And so I do think he's going to come back. I believe that they're going to use all 21 days. I think they're going to push this thing to him coming back for a Tampa Bay game coming out of the bye. I think that's the most likely. It allows him to get the most practice work in. It allows them to make some decisions that they're going to have to make when it comes to roster decisions. And you always want to wait till the last minute. So I think the Chiefs game was definitely out of the picture. I think a lot of people were kind of saying, hey, maybe Dallas. But to me, I still think the 49ers wait and go through that bye week, give him extra time, and then we'll see him against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers where he'll make his debut. And then the question will be, how much is he going to play? And I expect him to probably get the fourth most snaps for wide receiver as soon as he steps on the field because he's that good. And I think he can make an impact on this team.
All right, let's turn our attention to the Chiefs. I posted this on X earlier today that the 49ers have lost 6 out of the last 7 to Kansas City. Kyle Shanahan has yet to beat the Chiefs as a head coach. They've lost 4 consecutive times to Kansas City. The last 2 times that the 49ers have beaten the Chiefs, do you know what those 2 times are?
I know that one of them was Steve Mariucci. I believe it was 2002. And I know Jim Harbaugh beat him in his final season in 2014. I believe those are the 2 victories, if I remember right.
That you remembered very right. That is spot on. And so if you look way back, I mean, even in 1994, the last time they won the Super Bowl, they lost to Kansas City that season. They just can't seem to beat the Chiefs in the regular season or in the Super Bowl. And so it's like, you know, you expect to lose if it's at Arrowhead because that crowd is crazy loud, but you should be winning these home games, especially in seasons when you're this good. Now, this Chiefs team is very good as well. So, with that in mind, this Kansas City defense has been shutting down other teams' run games every week. In fact, I think they're giving up 3.6 or 3.7 yards per carry. I think that's good for third best in the NFL. If the 49ers can't run the ball, I think it's going to be really difficult to win this game. So, what do you like about this matchup? What do you not like about this matchup for the 49ers against the Chiefs?
Well, it's tough. You know, I mean, anytime that Kyle Shanahan plays against a team as aggressive as Spagnola's defense is going to be, he often likes to be a little bit more conservative and not give up negative plays, because negative plays kill drives, whether that's penalties or, you know, losses. And so he definitely doesn't want that to happen. But I think that that might be one of the reasons that they haven't had as much success against the Chiefs defense is you have to find opportunities to be aggressive. And sometimes you have to take chances to have negative plays. So it's a balancing act. And as a play caller, you never want to end a drive because of a bad play call and a negative play. But you also got to have big time plays from your big time players. And sometimes that means taking chances. The Chiefs are going to take chances when it comes to bringing the blitz, making you try to feel uncomfortable. And you have to take advantage of that. You have to really understand what your hots are, get rid of the football. And when you have the opportunity to strike down the field, because they'll give you a couple, you have to be able to hit those. And if you do hit those, it changes the dynamic of the game. When it comes to running the football, it's about just being consistent with it. They give up 3.6, 3.7. That's okay. Go ahead and stay with it. Get that 3.6, get that 3.7, and put the onus on them to make sure they still stay in tune and engage in stopping the run. Because if they do, that's when you're going to have opportunities with play action and get that ball to the middle of the field where you can have some plays for your playmakers. So it's one of those things where just because it's not successful doesn't mean you don't stick with it a little bit. Now, if you're getting -1, you're only getting a couple yards of carry, that's different. But if you're getting over 3, stick with it and kind of play the game. And you're going to have some critical conversions from Brock Purdy on third down. But the 49ers have proven this year they can move the ball up and down the field. That's what they're going to have to do in this game, because keeping the other quarterback on the sideline is going to be a key. So win the time of possession and go ahead and force the long drives. Just move the ball methodically. 3 yards is great in this football game. I think that's what they need to do if they want to have a chance to beat the Chiefs in this football game.
I want to point out this statement from Niner Trump. He said, Juwan did not practice. He has a sore hip. We're going to need him in this game. I completely agree with that, because Jennings had a really good game in the Super Bowl. Let's go back to that, because Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk had a hard time getting open against that man coverage. Jennings was the best receiver for the 49ers that day. What's it going to be like if Juwan Jennings can't play? It's not only going to hurt the running game, it's going to hurt the passing game, especially if Ayuk and Deebo aren't able to create separation.
It's always a big question mark, because if you're going to go to man coverage, usually where you start liking your matchups is when you can get cornerback 3 on wide receiver 3. And so you're right. Juwan Jennings had a very good game against the Chiefs last year in the Super Bowl. And I'm sure the 49ers would love to go back to Juwan. And you're kind of seeing a shift on third downs, the way defenses are playing Juwan anyways, where they're kind of going ahead and trying to take away Juwan and make Deebo beat them. And Deebo is going to have to turn into a third down monster, I believe. But I think that would be a significant loss if Juwan doesn't play. His effect when it comes to running the football is huge. I mean, his blocking is phenomenal, but also the creativity you can have as an offensive play caller to use him blocking. He can block interior defensive linemen. He can block guys on the edge. He's just very talented and multiple with what he can do. So I think that would be huge. Now, the big difference between last year in the Super Bowl and this year has to be the fact the Chiefs don't have L'Jarius Sneed. I think that will be a factor because they were able to just kind of man up across the board. 49ers might be able to find some opportunities to get some matchups they like, but it's not always a good matchup. One-on-one, man coverage, 49ers are going to have to find the matchups they like. Get George Kittle lined up on a linebacker, get George Kittle on a safety. I think those are kind of matchups you're looking for in this game. It could be a good George Kittle game. So 49ers, Kyle Shanahan has to figure it out, and Jawan Jennings would be very hurtful if he's not playing.
Yeah, I see that Tommy wrote that Jennings has a rib injury, but I think I'm trying to look. I think that I saw that he's missing practice today because of a hip. So I do think that there's something going on with that hip as well. So here's my biggest concerns for the 49ers. And the crazy thing is I'm not even going to mention Patrick Mahomes, which is nuts to think that there are concerns that are bigger. One is being able to run the ball against this really good rushing defense. Two is the wide receivers getting open. And three, I think, are just some of the mistakes that the 49ers have been making, whether it's penalties or turnovers. They seem to come at the worst time possible. Those are drive killers. And so to me, cleaning some of that stuff up, if they can run the ball, if they can create some separation, if they can clean up some of those mistakes, then I think they're going to win this game. But if they can't do any of that, then they're going to lose yet again.
Yeah, this is one of those tough battles because the 49ers offense is definitely good enough to move the ball on the Kansas City Chiefs defense. And the defense for the Chiefs is phenomenal. I mean, just watching them, I watched them versus the Saints to get a really good idea about that team and who they were. And the speed on defense, the penetration that the defensive line gets, the overall attention to detail, it's very, very good. They are a good defense, and they've got one of the best players in the league in Chris Jones, who him versus Dominic Pooney is going to be one heck of a show. We're going to find out who the kid is real quick. But I think that this is going to be a fun matchup, and I do think the 49ers have the ability to win. But you're right. They have to go back to doing what they do. They did it last week against the Seahawks, but that's a different Seahawks defense. That's not a bully. The Chiefs defense is a bully. They bully you. They come in there. They're aggressive. They put the onus on you, and they try to dictate what you're able to do to them. Okay, we're going to come up. We're going to load the box. Guess what? You're throwing on this set. Oh, we're going to play too high safety. Now you're going to run, and they try to determine it for you. How are the 49ers going to be able to work through that? A lot of that's on Brock Purdy, how he's able to read what Spagnuolo is doing, and also on Jake Brendel. Jake Brendel's got to be able to slide protect the right way. The assignment's got to be on point because Spagnuolo will bring blitzes from everywhere at any time. So it's going to be interesting to see how they navigate that. But I think the game plan's got to be run the football consistently, run play action off of that. When you have shots down the field, take them and make sure you win on those situations. That's how you beat the Chiefs, at least offensively. Stopping Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and the weapons is a whole other story.
What are they going to do with Travis Kelce? I mean, Dre Greenlaw's still not back. Devondre Campbell has been playing. D. Winters has been playing. Who do you see matching up with Kelce, and are they going to be able to slow down that connection?
I think they're going to have to use a multitude of different guys. I mean, last year they used a lot of Dre Greenlaw and a lot of Tashawn Gibson, and Tashawn Gibson handled tight ends a lot. If you go back and you watch him, he played Darren Waller, and he played a lot of the tight ends, and he played well against them. Well, I think that this time they're going to have to be multitude, and there's sometimes going to be Jair, sometimes it's going to be Fred. Sometimes you're just going to zone him up and bracket coverage him. I think they're going to just have to consistently try to keep them off balance. The tough part is with Travis Kelce is he doesn't run what he's supposed to run. He has the freedom to change routes whenever he wants to get to space. So you think you've got a route concept figured out, and all of a sudden he just does a pirouette and goes over here and he's wide open. That's one of the difficulties of covering him. So I think you'll probably see Fred. I think you'll probably see some Jair Brown. And then I think as well, you'll probably just see them kind of bracket him and try to take him away early and make Mahomes go other places. He's still got weapons. He's still got Watson. He's still got Juju Smith-Schuster, and of course, Xavier Worthy, who can take the top off. So plenty of weapons for them. But yeah, you got to make sure Kelsey's not the one to beat you.
Yeah, don't let Worthy get behind you for sure. Notorious GAV said Mustafa, so he sounds like he thinks that's who's going to match up with him. I want to get to a couple of comments, questions here. Let me see if I can find this one. David said Chiefs linebackers have struggled in pass coverage, inexplicably take advantage. What do you think about that?
Yeah, here's one of the tough ones is you're right. This would be a great place, and David's always spot on, that you could take advantage of the Chiefs. You don't have Christian McCaffrey, though. Christian McCaffrey versus the Chiefs linebackers would have been a huge advantage for 49ers. I don't know if you're getting that same advantage from Jordan Mason or Isaac Garendo. So it's got to be George Kittle or it's got to be Kyle Juszczyk. So that's on Kyle Shanahan to figure out how he gets those matchups, and can he get a matchup of Debo on those guys? That's going to be one of the keys. The 49ers have been running an 0-2 personnel, which is one of the most unique personnel groupings in the entire league because there's no running backs on the field and 2 tight ends. You can only do that when you have a wide back like Debo Samuel you can put in the backfield. So can they do that and then get a look with Kittle on a linebacker or even Debo on a linebacker? I think that's what Kyle's going to try to figure out in this game. And you're right. They put those linebackers in some tough situations because of the way they like to blitz and like to be aggressive. You'll get some good looks. Brock's got to be able to decipher it and get the ball out in time and in space and let those guys make plays. So, yeah, you can take advantage of them. It just would have been a lot easier if you had Christian McCaffrey in the lineup. So Kyle's going to have to be more creative with how he figures it out.
Let's see. Notorious asked, how can the Niners improve on kickoff punt return coverage?
Well, I think when it comes to kickoff, I think the thing that makes the most sense is just kick it out of the end zone every single time. And I know that's the goal. For right now, that's what they want to do. They even the one Jake Moody got hurt on, they wanted that one out of the end zone. Let's just not even play with it. You're not even going to have a problem. Just kick it out every time. You never have to worry about it. I think when it comes to punt return, it's a little bit more difficult. You have to make sure you're blocking a little bit better. But I think with punt return also, you just got to make sure that Jacob Cowan can keep his feet. The poor guy's been falling and slipping all over the place. He secures the catch, but they've got to figure that out. There has been space for him when it comes to punt return. I will say this, because I got to give credit where credit's due. The punt coverage, though, with Chris Conley and Ronnie Bell as the gunners, has been fantastic. They had great coverage last week. Mitch Wisnowski had really good punts. So if there was one area the 49ers were really good at on special teams right now, it would be punt coverage. And hopefully they can continue to work on and build off of that.
Let's see. Notorious had another question here down at the bottom. Another great juice game. Don't threaten me with a good time.
Yeah, it could be. I think that they're using Kyle Juszczyk more in third down back situations than they've ever have before. Kyle trusts him when it comes to pass protection more than any other back that they currently have. If it was Elijah Mitchell, right, we know that he would have felt good with him. Christian McCaffrey, of course. But Juszczyk is that guy that can definitely help. And he's still a weapon when it comes to catching the football. He had a couple of catches last week. He had an opportunity for 2 big screen passes. One that if Aaron Banks is a half a step faster is a touchdown. The other one, a Brock Purdy errant throw, he probably would have got 20, 25 yards on a screen. I mean, it was completely walled off. So I think that he's finding ways to get Juszczyk the ball and also finding ways to use him in third down. I just wish that Juszczyk was more dynamic running the football. You lose that element on third down when he's in the game. He can get you a couple, he can get you a few, but you're not really worried if you're a defense about that part of his game. So that's one of the things you lose by not having a McCaffrey or Elijah Mitchell or a Jordan Mason you feel comfortable with as far as catching the football and being good in pass protection.
Yeah, Kyle Juszczyk's been around for a long time. He's a legend among 49ers fans. But if you're taking Juszczyk, or if you're building a team, a 49ers team with a fullback, are you taking Kyle Juszczyk, William Floyd, or Tom Rathman? Which one of those are you taking?
I'm taking Tom Rathman. I think Tom Rathman was the perfect mixture of being able to catch the football, but also bringing a physicality and an intensity to the sport that was just, it was different. He was like Kyle Juszczyk and William Floyd put together. William Floyd had that aggressiveness, that physicality at the point of attack, was a very good blocker, could run the ball good enough. And then you have Juszczyk can catch the ball and do a lot of multiple things. Rathman's kind of the best of both worlds. He was a unicorn in his time in the NFL. Everyone was a big blocking fullback. Rathman could do it all. I mean, you're talking about a guy with one-handed catches, tearing up the Super Bowl. Yeah, I'm going Rathman, but I do like both of the other guys too. 1994, I was a huge William Floyd fan. Of course, he came from Florida State, so that I was a fan of him coming all the way in. And then when it comes to Kyle Juszczyk, just the way that he's used as a Swiss Army knife, I have so much respect for what he does. He's the best fullback in the game right now.
Yeah, I'm taking Rathman. I might take a healthy William Floyd ahead of Kyle Juszczyk, and I love Kyle Juszczyk. But man, William Floyd, before he blew out his knee, he was great. And that 95 season, he was having because the 49ers had let go of Ricky Waters, he had signed elsewhere in free agency, and they had Derek LaVille as the running back. And so they really were missing that dynamic part of the running game. And Floyd was being used a lot in the running game. He was being used a lot in the passing game. And so I just liked what he was doing. Maybe if Shanahan used Juice more, then maybe that would be the way that I would go. But all right. If you're still in the chat, why don't you drop your final score predictions in here, because we're going to see what Ant thinks and see what y'all think. Mr. Corey said, what's up, gentlemen? 49ers 31, Chiefs 28. So yeah, I can live with that as long as the 49ers win. I don't care what the score. They could beat them 3-0. They could beat them 2-0. I don't really care as long as they win. So Ant, can the 49ers finally beat the Chiefs? The obvious answer is yes. Will they beat the Chiefs? Steve-O says 30-28. I'm assuming he's taking the 49ers.
Yeah, I'm guessing so. We're seeing some of the scores come in, 3-point game right here. I don't know how many points the 49ers are going to be able to score against this Kansas City Chiefs defense. This defense is really good at keeping teams out of the end zone and preventing them from being able to get some good points. I think this might be a lower scoring game than probably it should be, because both offenses are good, but both defenses have been showing the ability to get some stops. Now, the Chiefs defense is definitely the superior of the two right now. But I do think that the 49ers can win this game, and I think that a score like Notorious GAV had of 24-21 makes a lot of sense to me. I think that somewhere around there, if the 49ers can get some clutch stops and be able to get in the end zone enough, could be enough to win this football game. So I do think the 49ers are going to win. I am going to pick them to win in this game, and I think they have a good shot of going 2-0 over the next 2 weeks. But it's going to take everything. It's going to take full complementary football, no mistakes by the special teams, and the offense and defense are going to have to be on point. Offense has to make sure they're handling the time of possession and running the football consistently and mixing that with play action and good third down conversions from Brock Purdy. And defensively, you just can't make the catastrophic mistake. You've got to keep things underneath. Don't allow Xavier Worthy over the top and make good tackles. Plus, Kareem Hunt, you still have to play him. They are running the football pretty well with him back there. So they're going to have to make sure they stop the run as well. It's going to be a cat and mouse game between Nick Sorensen and Patrick Mahomes. 2 high safety, single high safety, depending on how many guys you have in the box. What can you get Patrick Mahomes to do? I think that's going to be a key in this game. All
right. Let me see what some of these others are saying here. Tommy Huxley says Chiefs 30-27. David says 28-17 for the good guys. That's the 49ers. Coach Mike says 24-13 Chiefs. Gold-Blooded said, can't pick my Niners versus KC until they show me they can beat them. Tommy said, no way, Mike. If the 49ers only score 13, that's fireable, I think is what that's supposed to say. And let's see. KNDR, aka Wish Anthony, says, I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Yeah, you are.
1917 49ers on a walk-off field goal to become the Week 7 world champions. Yeah, a walk-off field goal with a guy that they just signed who didn't he kick against the 49ers in the playoffs and miss a field goal? I think that's the same guy.
Yeah. Andres Carlson did miss the field goal that left the door open for the 49ers to go down and get the big win. So, yeah, you would be expecting that guy to get the walk-off, but I love it being the Week 7 world champions.
Yeah. Let's see. That's the only predictions that I see. I tell you, I still have some time before I have to make my predictions. Right now, I'm leaning Chiefs, but I'm kind of I don't know if I'll go Chiefs, though. I mean, I definitely think that the 49ers can win this game, and they just haven't made me confident enough that they're going to put it all together for a complete game and win it. Let me get one more question here from Filthy Casual. Why is the 49ers defense bad in the second half?
Well, they've been tremendously good in the first half of a couple of football games this year, and I thought they were really good against Seattle. I think in the second half, I think that touchdown on the kickoff was a big part of this football game. I don't think the Seahawks would have got rolling like that. Now, they really only give up the one touchdown per se in the second half. The last one, they're trying to allow them to catch the ball underneath. They're trying to use the clock. And at this point, they've been on the field for a long time in a short week. Not a lot of turnaround. What are you going to do? Whenever you see a team throw for over 50 times, you're going to start wearing down towards the end of the game. So I thought they played a really good game. I think that, yes, they did give up 17 points in this game, but they also held the Seahawks to 52 yards rushing, which was really good. So it has been a problem for the 49ers this season. The second half hasn't been as good as the first half, but I think the Seahawks game might have not exactly been that game. So they got to right the ship, and the Chiefs are a team that we've seen come back on the 49ers just recently. So they're going to have to go out and slam the door, and hopefully they can do that. That's going to be a huge part of this game, but I think that part of it was Nick Sorensen figuring it out, and I think the Seahawks one, though, was more so they got tired.
Alan says 30-21 Niners. I don't think we can win a one-score game. Yikes. And then Keys asked, hey, Ant, do you think Niners should go, I don't know what he's saying, go something and take out Campbell on
Dime.
Oh, dime. Yeah. And take out Devondre Campbell on passing downs.
It's interesting because Devondre Campbell definitely has mistakes. I mean, he had a mistake in the first drive where he moved a little bit too much in zone coverage, and you got DK Metcalf on a crosser for a big play. But then there's also the ones you look out and he's covering Zach Charbonnet one-on-one on the outside and running stride for stride. I have kind of put out there that I wouldn't be opposed to the 49ers pulling out Campbell on nickel situations, for sure on dime situations, put an extra safety maybe or an extra corner. You could do that if you're not worried about the opposing team running on you. The problem is teams are willing to stay in 11 personnel. And if you go dime against 11 personnel, they're going to try to run the football on you, and they're going to try to run the football on you every single time. So it's kind of a pick your poison type situation. But I wouldn't be shocked to see Winters get more nickel situations as long as he can play good coverage. His coverage grade is usually pretty good, but we want Campbell out there for sure when we think they're going to run. And so that's going to make it a little bit more interesting with how you sub those guys in and out.
Well, I think the 49ers are going to be in pretty good shape unless we're in the fourth quarter and they're up by 10. And then I think that they're in trouble. That's just the way it is with them. That's all that I have. Do you have anything you want to add before we take off?
No, I think that this is going to be a tough week, for the 49ers. I mean, this is a really good football team. And so if you wanted a measuring stick game, this is going to be it. And, there's all those things. You got to get over the hump of beating the Kansas City Chiefs. And those of us that remember 1994, when Dallas came to town, was a big game psychologically for Steve Young and the 49ers. It wasn't so much that it was going to determine they were going to win the Super Bowl, but it was getting their mindset to the point of, hey, we can actually beat Troy Aikman. We can actually beat the Cowboys. And so I think this would go a long way. And this is also the first regular season game that Brock Purdy has played as a starting quarterback against the Chiefs. In 2022, it wasn't Brock Purdy. It was Jimmy Garoppolo. So this is a little bit of a different era for the 49ers, but they're going to have to play complimentary, really good football for 4 quarters. And maybe we'll see the best 49ers. Maybe this will snap them back into high gear to where they should be. Hopefully this is that game that they get it done, but it's not going to be easy. And I think Steve Spagnuolo is going to frustrate the 49ers a lot. And I'm hoping the 49ers can frustrate Patrick Mahomes a little bit too, but it's going to be a good one. Get your popcorn ready. It's going to be exciting.
It is. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hey, thanks everybody for joining us. If you wouldn't mind, please take a minute and subscribe to both channels. Hit that like button. We appreciate your support. Appreciate everybody joining us, especially those in the chat. It's been a lot of fun talking. So let's gear up. Let's get ready for a 49ers game and hopefully a 49ers win this weekend. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your week.